Just be really, really intentional with who surrounds you, because the more intentional you are with who you're interacting with on a daily basis, it's just going to help you so much in your career and your progression. I'm Sarah McDowell, and this is SEO in 2026.
Sarah, what's your number one SEO tip for 2026?
Community and your inner circle is not only essential for your well-being, but it is so important for your career progression as well.
Okay, community and your inner circle. Now, it seems on the face of it that this isn't immediately relevant to SEO, but why is it relevant to SEO?
When it comes to SEO and when it comes to career progression, and it's the same in any industry, looking after your own well-being, looking after yourself is so important, because it avoids things like burnout, imposter syndrome, not feeling confident to push yourself forward, not having the confidence in your own skills sort of thing. It is so important. And one of the reasons why me and Tasman started the SEO Mindset podcast, because we found that there's lots of great podcasts out there that tell you how to do SEO, but there was a bit of a gap for a podcast that was just talking about career progression, personal growth, mental health for those that work in SEO. So your softer skills, because they're really important. They're at the core to all of that lovely growth.
Okay, so wonderful. So obviously you need to be in the right place mentally to move forward, to take advantage of different opportunities as you move along. Which areas would you say SEOs are struggling with most at the moment?
When it comes to mental health and looking after yourself?
I guess it was a fairly open question on purpose, just to see what direction you preferred to take it.
Well, I suppose with SEO, it is a forever changing industry, isn't it? And that is one of the lovely big challenges and why lots of people love working in SEO. But because of the forever changing landscape, and search engines like Google are forever changing the goalposts, or they're forever changing what the SEO landscape looks like, it can be hard to keep up with it all. And even at times where you feel like you've got it sorted, you've got it covered, and you've worked on your knowledge and you feel confident, things will change and it can kind of throw you off kilter a little bit. So because SEO is so forever changing, it is so important that it's not just your mental health and looking after yourself, but also who are you surrounding yourself by? Who is in your community? Who is in your inner circle that is helping and supporting you, but also that you can lean on to ask for advice or ask for support, or just to talk about things that you're struggling with.
And inner circle, are you talking about people who are like family and friends and aren't necessarily related to the SEO industry? Or are you simply talking about people within the SEO industry that understand technically as well as emotionally what you're going through?
So your inner circle, yes, we are definitely talking about your personal relationships. So partners, friends, family. But when we talk, you've also got an inner circle when it comes to work, in your professional inner circle. We can be really intentional with who we want in that inner circle, because what you want to be doing is finding people that are similar to you in the SEO industry that either you look up to, or you're working towards the same things, or you're kind of similar, and you can just support one another. And if you've got the same values, you've got the same goals, and you want to achieve similar things, you can support and encourage each other to do so. There's also things like mentorship as well, or coaches. They can be in your inner circle. So it's being really intentional about, okay, who can I have in my inner circle that's not only going to help me and that I can support and lean on, but who's going to build me up? Who's going to push me? Who's going to help me progress? Who's going to, when I've got this idea of doing something, how are they going to push and say, yes, this is a wonderful idea? So an example of this was, so with the SEO Mindset podcast that I do with Tasman Suleiman, we saw an opportunity to do a live podcast during Brighton SEO. We got friends and got familiar with Jack Chambers Ward, who is Search with Candour. And when we approached Jack and when we were like, we've got this really great idea to create something really special, we would love to do a live podcast during Brighton SEO, the night before Brighton SEO, and talk about topics that really do matter. What was really great was we knew that we could go to Jack, me and Tasman could go to Jack and pitch this idea, because we knew that he would be on board and he would love it. So rather than shooting it down and being like, oh no, I don't think that will work, or I don't see where this could go, because we had someone where we were aligned, values were similar, it really worked. And we've been working on this live podcast now. It's growing and getting bigger and better each time. This started off as an idea. This started off as like a little nice to have. And the only reason it has come into actual reality is because there was the three of us that were aligned. We wanted to do something and we could support one another in doing that and achieving that goal.
So that's the three of you aligned. That's your inner circle, or part of your inner circle. How do you find your inner circle? And how often should you meet with them, talk with them to actually have the optimum impact for all of you?
So there's lots of different ways. So if you are employed and you've got a team and there's a big team of you in marketing or SEO, you can be really intentional about who you vibe with, who you really click with, who you feel like you can have open conversations with and you feel really safe and secure, and you can just go to them whenever you feel that you need to. So you can find these people in your work setting. If you are freelance or if you work solo, this is where it's so important to find communities like Women in Tech SEO. You've got the SEO community. There's so many communities now that exist, which is a great way to start finding people that you can bring into your inner circle. So signing up to these communities and getting involved, seeing where the conversations are, asking questions, or if other people are asking questions, you're responding, and you'll slowly start to see people, or you'll slowly start to build connections, build relationships, build friendships with certain people. That's how me and Tasman first met in the first place. Me and Tasman met because we were both part of the Women in Tech SEO community. So I posted in that community saying, I really want to help people start a podcast. And Tasman actually reached out to me. Our first conversation was about Tasman starting a poetry podcast. We just got to know each other. We started chatting. And that's when the idea of starting the SEO Mindset podcast came from, because we noticed that lots of people are struggling with burnout, imposter syndrome, all of this stuff. People are talking about it in the community, but there wasn't a specific podcast for that. So that mine and Tasman's relationship started in a community and blossomed. So there's lots of communities that you can get involved with. There's lots of people that you can bring into your fold. And it's also about being aware of who builds you up and who drains your energy as well, because we're all going to be familiar with the times where you've been socializing with someone, and it can be in person, it can be online as well, but you've socialized or you've had an interaction with someone and you come away and you feel drained, or you come away feeling a certain emotion. That is something that we really have to pay attention to, because our body is telling us that person isn't quite for us. That person isn't building us up. That person isn't going to help us. Now, I'm not saying that you should never see or interact with that person ever again, because you might not be able to, but it's just being aware of that energy and how that person makes you feel. So that's when you can reduce the amount of time that you're spending with that person. On the flip side, the times where you spend time with someone and you come away buzzing, you come away energized, you come away feeling like encouraged, or you've learned something, or you were able to ask a question and they were really respectful of you. If you feel it in your body, if you feel it in your gut that you've been really lovely supported, then that's how you know that is your person. And that is one of the people that you need in your inner circle, because they're going to help you.
But how much time should you spend on this? Because you can spend an awful lot of time on this and not be productive. And obviously, at the end of the day, even if you're not feeling 100%, sometimes you just have to sit down there and get the work done.
It's a valid question, and it is hard, isn't it? Because as an SEO or anyone in digital marketing, that to-do list is ever growing. What I'm talking about today is I just don't have time to do that. Like, if I do that, then how am I going to get my client work done? How am I going to do work on our website, sort of thing? But I'd rephrase it, and this isn't a nice to have. This is essential, yeah? And you've got to see it as an investment into yourself. If you see it as an investment, if you see it as like, this is going to really help me, you will find time to put into this. Yes, I'm not saying that you should focus more on this and then your work doesn't get done because of it. You need to have the balance. And how much time all depends on you as a person and your routine, for example. So what you could do is, when you're setting up your working week, when you're setting up your projects, you put time aside for what you need to do, the deadlines, or the stuff that needs to be done, because that's what's paying the bills, but making sure that you're also slotting in time to build your inner circle, work on community, work on your relationships. And maybe that is, can you find half an hour in the morning when you're having your morning coffee? Can you find 15 minutes on your lunch break? At 5 o'clock before you shut down and finish for the day, or 5:30, can you spend half an hour within a community engaging? Or can you go on LinkedIn? Or you can definitely find the time, and it's finding those pockets of time to work on yourself, because this is an investment. It matters. It's just as important as the client work, because actually, once you've done this, it helps you be more productive. It will help you be faster at your work. It will help you be more efficient. It could also help you troubleshoot as well. So you might be stuck on this problem. You're scratching your head and you don't know what's going on and you don't know how to fix it. However, if you've got your community and you've got your people that you can lean on, you're going to find a solution much quicker, because then you can go to your safe people. You can go to the people that you can lean on and say, look, I've got this issue. I've got this problem. I've been staring at the screen for 2 hours. I just can't figure it out. Can you help me? And they'll give you an alternative viewpoint. They'll look at it at different angles. So actually, yes, you need to spend time doing this, and you've got to find times in your work day or your work week, but you've got to see it as an investment.
And I like your phrase, be cautious of people that drain you as well. It reminds me of the phrase, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That was popularized by Jim Rohn. And it's so true that you have to pick your inner circle really carefully. And if you have people constantly chipping away at you, being negative or telling you can't do things, then it's not going to have a good positive impact on your life.
Yeah. So be very, very intentional. You don't want people to drain you, but also you don't want to end up falling into that comparison trap either. Like, how many times have you ended up on LinkedIn or Instagram or your social media of choice, and you're scrolling and you end up comparing yourself to other people in the industry because they seem to be doing better than you, or they're posting more, or this comparison trap is, whilst it's good to find people that inspire you, and whilst it's important to find people to lift you up, you've got to be really careful of not being unrealistic and still celebrating your own wins and looking back and being like, yes, I am just as valid. I'm just as good as this person. they're doing this, they're doing X, Y, and Z, but look at what I've done, look what I'm achieving, sort of thing.
Sarah, what's the key takeaway from the tip you shared today?
Just be really, really intentional with who surrounds you, because the more intentional you are with who you're interacting with on a daily basis, it's just going to help you so much in your career and your progression.
Sarah McDowell is founder at Lyrebird Studios and co-host of the SEO Mindset podcast. Find out more over at lyrebirdstudios.com and sarahmcdowell.co.uk. Sarah, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2026. I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2026, the book, over at seoin2026.com.